We're going to have a chat on cyber-futurism, key trends for an evolving and thriving landscape. We're about to meet a couple of people from Bidem. If you're not familiar with Bidem, they're a wonderful profit-for-purpose cybersecurity business, long-term friends of AUSCERT, who don't just do great work in the cybersecurity space, they're also working on closing the gap with First Australians. John Robertson, their CTO, and Joe Masters, their CEO, will be joined on stage by Ivano for a conversation. Let's talk cyber-futurism.
All right. Welcome, Joe. Welcome, JR. I always joked about, having Joe and John on the panel. So we'll go JR. Does it work for you?
It works.
Perfect. I'm glad also that Adam did a quick introduction to you guys, so I don't have to cover all of the great stuff you've done in your career. The conversation today is really around understanding the power of collaboration and Bidem being an organization that is always keen on having conversations and really building strategic partnerships. So, Joe, you've started very recently. We were talking about that yesterday. It's been a ride already. It's been 2 or 3 intense weeks. So congratulations on your appointment. I actually was also looking at your background and what you've done in your career. You got a wealth of experience across industries, across countries as well. You traveled a lot and different roles. Now you have this role with Bidem. What are some of the challenges that you see currently in the cybersecurity industry?
Well, it's a skills shortage, right, across the industry and going forward. So we just need to be upskilling, and that's something that we at Bidem are really doing, to give back with Aboriginal communities, training them in cybersecurity, something that we're very proud of. It's collaborations in organisations. Michelle stole some of my thunder when she was up on stage, but at least we're giving a consistent message. But it is not just one person's job in your organisation, and you've really got to make sure that you get that message across that every department head owns this responsibility in your organisation. But it's also collaboration across the partners that you involve and also the vendors that you're using. So make sure that they are playing nicely, that they're collaborating, and that you're getting the best outcome for them. It's the human element, unfortunately. We can do a lot of training, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to be exposed to threat, or that one of our employees are not going to be exposed, or one of our board members or one of our leaders. But I think it's going beyond that now. We don't need to just educate our employees, we need to educate their families as well, because there's just so many multi-channels that people are using to do these cyber attacks now. So I guess I'd really recommend that people expand out their education to the families of their employees, as well as just the employees, and make sure that it's continuous and ongoing. I think you've got to trust your organisation, but you've got to verify. And I would say as a board member, Michelle touched on this, but the board members do need to be educated. And I think it's everybody's job in the organisation, or the leadership team, to educate the board. And something that I manage by is, there's the only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. And we should encourage all the board members to be, take that approach, but as well as all of our employees. So just have an open communication about this topic. But my biggest message to you is like trust but verify. I think another challenge that we have is budgets, and sometimes we don't always get to pick the best partners or the best of breed product. But I'd say really push hard to get the best of breed in your organisations to protect your organisation.
Thanks for that, Joe. JR, what's your view on this? Do you share some of the challenges that Joe has raised? Have you got a different perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I think from a technical lens, I think we've got a pretty large distraction layer at the moment. We're all talking about AI, but AI is kind of detracting from the basics, right? We've been talking as an industry and as a nation about multi-factor authentication for a near decade plus, right? And we're still not seeing that done well. Even conditional access policies and things like that, we're still seeing problems there. So the distraction layers, I think, are very prolific at the moment. It's taking a lot of effort away from the basics. But also still with regional and global conflict there's pretty defendable evidence from a SOC perspective, you will see different attack patterns and attack traffic depending on which way that's going. And that's been around even from the Russian-Ukraine conflict, right? So we could see different attack patterns from that regard. But also, and I know it's been spoken about quite a lot through this week, but board members being unprepared for a cyber incident or cyber investment. And that really comes down to the translation of a technical risk to a business risk. I think that's going to be an ongoing battle. And as an industry, I think we've just got to get better at translating technical risk to business risk.
And I actually wanted to stay with you, GR, for a second, because Joe has mentioned a problem that we probably heard a lot. The issues associated with budgets and budget constraints, obviously, especially small and medium businesses do not have the budgets that large organizations have, and still facing very similar problems. Have you got any solutions when it comes to helping companies that don't have necessarily the largest budgets to be able to fill that tech divide that they have, or, as Joe was saying, educate? What's your view on that?
Yeah, it definitely comes with education first. So I do like what Joe says quite a lot around trust but verify. We see quite a lot of board members getting reports, like penetration testing reports, saying it's all good and this, that. That's fine. But depending on where and what size the organisation is, trust but verify. Have a third party just come in and have a look at the cybersecurity posture. Doesn't have to be a big engagement, doesn't have to be a massive outlay, but just validate the findings. Having that third set of eyes or a new set of eyes, especially if you've had a team with very low turnover, that's an awesome thing. We don't want high turnover. But what we need to do is have a fresh set of eyes, because you might see something totally different.
So really difference of perspectives is something that would help. Joe, I'll come back to you on the solution side of things. I mean, you kind of gave us a quite substantial list of potential challenges. What are some of the solutions you would invite organizations, regardless of their size and industry, to explore when it comes to the challenges you have listed before?
I would say that you should make sure that you have a contingency plan in case you do get a cyber attack. And make sure that the whole organisation is educated on that contingency plan, and that you can still continue to run your business. And make sure that you are engaging with partners and vendors that collaborate and want the best for you and that you can trust. But absolutely verify them, and make sure that you have a plan B if you don't feel that you have the right partners and the right vendors, because they've got to play nicely together. They've got to have your best interests at heart. And they've got to be the bigger person. That's what we always try to be for our customers, just the bigger person to provide that solution and partner and collaborate with the vendors and the partners that they choose. Yeah, so I think that would be mainly it. Also, collaboration across public and private sector is a must, really needs to happen. But I think we all need to lead from the top. Any leader in this room needs to be leading the way for their team and educating them.
Thanks for that, Joe. Actually, we'll probably stay there. Obviously, you mentioned public and private partnerships, and we know how difficult sometimes it is, especially considering the different incentives, especially considering the different ways of working. Have you seen any best practice, and this is for you, but by JR, feel free to jump in. Have you seen any best practice in your career that you could identify as, okay, well, that is an example of how public sector and private sector can actually work together and really help the uplift from a community perspective, regardless if it's a technical aspect or more an educational or cultural aspect?
Well, from a technical aspect, I think it's a fairly new and emerging thing, but sharing threat intelligence across industry, also industry partners sharing threat intelligence. I know quite a few of the American big vendors were trying to do this 10 years ago, failed miserably. But I think generally, especially in Australia, we're seeing that collaboration between industry and government quite a lot. And it can only get better. So.
Joe, have you got any examples you wanted to throw in the mix, maybe in the education space?
Yeah, I think, there are a lot of tools out there now, and just listening to Michelle's speech today was inspirational, that she does want to engage with board members, etc. So I think there's a lot more resources now than there was 5 or 10 years ago, and we just need to make sure that continues.
One final question for both of you. We don't really have a terrible amount of time this morning, but it's been great hearing your thoughts. What are some of the, in the audience, as I said, we have organizations that are both on the demand side of things, but also on the supply side of things. What are some of the trends you can expect for both, as I said, demand side and supply side in 2025 and beyond in the cybersecurity space?
Well, I think the skill set gap is going to continue to grow, but not in a way that most think. We're seeing emerging in the last probably 2 years, a lot of subject matter experts that are 10 years, 5 to 10 years in the industry, are now moving up into leadership roles, which is going to bring the skill set gap into a more critical state, because you're going to have the lack of subject matter experts. Now, there's no silver bullet. You can't inject 10 years of experience into someone in a short period of time. So I think we need to look at other industries where we can cross-skill people rapidly. I think that's going to be something that's going to be emerging into the future. AI is going to be further weaponised against Australian organisations. Yes, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. And back to basics, business email compromise is still going to be very prolific.
Joe?
I think, a lot of vendors are going to be acquired, and I think a lot of partners as well. This is a growing space, revenue-wise and demand-wise, but I think that's what we're going to see going forward. I think the way forward is innovation and collaboration. That's the key. But I think we all need to be ready for the unknown. We really can't predict what's ahead of us. We just need to try and have those contingency plans in place, be able to pivot and react quickly.
Joe, have you got any final takeaways in terms of how do we collaborate better?
I think it's all relationships. It's 101. That's something I don't think that's ever changed. The whole 30 years I've been in the IT industry, we play better together, and 1 + 1 can equal 3 for a customer if you play well together and collaborate.
Thank you very much. Well, that's all the time we had today. Thanks, Joe, CEO of BIDAM. Thanks, JR, CTO of BIDAM. And again, hopefully you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks, everyone, for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well chaired, Ivano. Thank you so much. If our guests from BIDAM would like to grab a little Jurassic Park jigsaw puzzle, a Lego set, on the way out, please do. Thank you very much. Wonderful session. We are about to break for morning tea now. Can I thank again our sponsors? We simply can't do AUSCERT for you without our sponsors, and now is a fantastic chance to get down to the exhibition marquee again, visit them all. Your last chance to register for some of the fantastic prizes that we'll be giving away this afternoon after afternoon tea, just before the famous legendary AUSCERT speed debate closes it all out for us again. But in particular, Google Cloud Security, Palo Alto, our platinum sponsors of AUSCERT in 2025. Thank you so much for your support, and to all of our sponsors, enjoy your morning tea. What a wonderful morning session to get us started. Enjoy your parallel streams. We'll see you back here at 3:45 to give away some prizes and then have our speed debate.